Hi everyone. In just a second, I'm going to be introducing author Rosenna Bakari, and we're going to be talking about this book of hers. And look at all the notes I made. And actually, I stopped marking pages because it was getting ridiculous. But anyway, it's called Too Much Love Is Not Enough. It's about childhood sexual abuse, and anyone who's watched me before knows that I went through my entire childhood being sexually abused by my father. So when I got this, I had to take a deep breath, and this is called writing fun, and I'm going to try to make this as fun as possible. This memoir is really deep, okay? She says a lot of great things. I wrote down notes, I marked pages. Um, if any of you have experienced it, I think it would be really worth it to read it. If you haven't, it's still a book of hope, and I hope that comes across in our talk. So, everyone, here is Rosenna. Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I'm interviewing author Rosenna Bakari, and we're going to be talking about her brand new book. I want to get a close up of this, and it's Too Much Love Is Not Enough. And I love the cover, and I love this book. we have
Thank
we have
you.
we have so much in common, and I have to tell you, I mean, you see my notes, and I have a book sitting next to me with notes. We have so much in common, and I was actually scared to read it because it's always difficult for me, but you gave me such great insight. Okay, everybody that is on my channel pretty much knows. I mean, I talk about my sexual abuse. I was abused by my father from the age of 2 to 18, and so it was not it was, I talk about it, but I've read a couple of memoirs, but what I loved about your book as opposed to some other memoirs that I've read is that it made me write stuff down. It was like I had these moments of like clarity. And for women like us who have had childhood sexual abuse, sometimes we don't have clarity.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely correct. Because one of the things that I talk about a lot is that if you are living in silence, the conversation is always in your head between you and those not so teeny little voices that continue the dysfunctional thinking that we have based on victimization rather than based on our resilience and our empowerment. So absolutely, we do not have the clarity when we live in victim mode or barely reaching survival mode. We know how to survive. We know that very well, and that's a good skill to know, but it doesn't make us our best selves.
Yeah, which, I'm 53. And, I always think like these milestones, and you say it in this book so good. It's like, okay, well, when I hit 30, I am no longer talking about this. Okay. And when I hit 40, this is not a part of my life anymore. Right now, I'm 53, and I'm like, I am still talking about it. Like, it doesn't go. And why is that for us? Why do we make those, like, because I think we don't want to live there, but then we can't.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, we make these like set points, like I'm going to be this age, and then I'm not, and then that's it. I'm only looking
Right.
forward.
Yeah.
Because
I think I lived off hope for a long time.
nice.
Which means of course we're living in the future. But I think, the whole book is really about my living in silence. I think was really about me living with this misperception that somehow something was going to magically change, that people were going to change, that situations were going to change, that would make it better. And the reality is, as I clearly, I hope, expressed in the book, is that the changes that occurred had nothing to do with healing at
That's what I mean.
all.
You wrote this book is so real. It was so real for me. Like, I don't know, and I'm sure you've read the other books, okay, where people kind of like they're not real. They're not, you can tell they're not there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like
Yeah.
waiting to, you're like, no, that didn't hit it for me. Like, I have to hear
Right.
real, because if I don't hear real, I don't hear it.
Right.
If that
Right.
makes sense to you.
Yeah, it's difficult to write, and I will say that I believe that that is one of my gifts.
Hmm.
in writing is the ability to watch and write from a position of watching. When I decided to finally heal, my healing journey has really all been about living in truth. And that's hard. Like, because the truth that comes to you, a lot of times it's not pretty, it's not kind. And that's why I say to people, like people will say, "Well, I want to write my memoir, or I want to write about my experience of sexual abuse." And I said, "Are you healed enough to do that? Because if you're not, like, I didn't write to find healing. I wrote because I had found enough healing to write." And so that put me, it gave, so writing the book gave me space around the healing that I had already found. But it's difficult to write from a place of empowerment if you don't feel a sense of empowerment. So for me, the writing was about write the truth, Rosanna. Write it as you felt it, write it as you experienced it, as close as you can do to that. Don't write it to find power. Write it because you have power.
I
You
love
know,
that.
so it was okay to write about bedwetting and all those ugly things that no one wants to talk about, because I want you to know how great I am in spite of being abused. It's like, no, I want you to know the things that are so difficult for people to talk about. And the fact that we don't talk about it helps us remain in silence collectively. And I wanted to open some space up for us to all live in our truth, whether it's because you wet the bed way beyond bedwetting age, or you fell into addiction or anorexia or over, whatever it is, it's going to have an impact. And we have to be truthful about the impact that it has had. And it's in that space of truth that we find our power, not by trying to pretend like it didn't have an impact or that it's all that we are. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And you know what? I used to always say that to people. If I ever talked about it with anyone, I would say it wasn't the abuse that I hated, it was the after effects.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because you don't know
Right.
when you're being abused, you don't know what 30 is going to look like. You don't know what
Nope.
40, when I'm having, panic attacks and I don't know where they're coming from. And, and like, I don't want to sleep in the dark and I don't know why,
Right.
like things. And then I'm like, I am crazy. There is something wrong with me. Okay. And I was more
Right.
mad about having to live my life thinking I was crazy than anything that
Absolutely.
happened.
Yes. Yes. I say that too because it's interesting. Adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse, we will get help about anything except the sexual abuse. Like we'll go into
Right.
addiction recovery. We'll go into for eating disorders. We like to go in for divorce and relationship issues. Like we'll go in for anything, but few people walk into the office, and I hope that's changing. But walk into the office and say, "Hey, I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and I need some help healing from that." Those are not usually the
Nope.
That's not usually how it comes.
Yeah, because
We
we have
come to
all
the
these
healing
other,
tap, kicking and screaming.
right,
Yeah.
because we have these other things that we think that's the problem. We don't
Right.
know. We don't know
Yeah.
what the problem is. We think it's that thing. So it's like I
Exactly.
went and got help for panic attacks. Okay.
Right. Right.
you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yep.
So, and
So.
I love when you said about truth, because somebody one time, I think it was one of my ex husbands, I'm sure, said to me, he called me a liar, right? And I was like,
Mm.
well, yeah, I was born a liar. Like, I had to lie.
Yeah.
So lying
Yeah.
came very easy for me about stupid shit, nothing that
Yep.
mattered, And then,
Yep.
then when you say that about living in truth, it was like, yeah, I had to learn how to live in truth,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I didn't become a liar directly. I just became about denial. You
Denial.
know, so people ask me, I'm like, no, like denial was my friend. Like I was going to deny it and I did until I couldn't deny it, until I absolutely couldn't deny it anymore. But I was going to hold on to that denial as long as I could. So, yeah.
Well, when I was reading your book, I was like, you know what? I was meant to know you. I was meant to read your story because it did help me. I wrote down
Good.
so
Thank
many
you.
things, but the one thing, like, I have all these notes and I'm trying to like sort them through because we could talk for hours. But the one, okay, and I don't know if you've experienced this quite. I don't. You can tell me. The one thing about my dad was that everybody loved him. My dad was the guy that at family events, my cousins, my,
Yeah.
okay, so because that's, so when I used to, hold on, he died in 1988. It's coming up on his 30th anniversary of his death. So I've been without him for 30 years and I'm still talking
Oh wow.
about this. But it was so hard to get anybody to understand that that wasn't him,
Mhm.
like that
Yeah.
persona. And I don't know
Yeah.
in your travels or whether you experience it or you know other people because you're out there and you know people, but is that a common thing that you found that these, and you call them predators, and it was hard for me
Yes.
to call him a predator. It really
It's
was,
hard.
you know.
It's hard to use that word on people that we love. And again, it's about living in that truth and
Yeah,
stating what is instead of stating what we want it to be. But yeah, that whole reputation thing, like reputation cannot be an alibi because that's exactly what perpetuates the sexual abuse from generation to generation to generation. And so when we say that's not a good person, that's a bad person, and this is some of the bad things that they did, we have to be believed. We absolutely must be believed, and something must be done. We cannot keep overriding the truth about violators, and that's a society's problem. Like, that is
absolutely.
really the issue that society has to come to grips with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because we're like the same age, I mean, back when we were abused, like
Hmm.
people really didn't know,
Oh
I
no.
went to counselors for all
Yeah.
kinds of issues. Nobody saw it coming. Like
No.
nobody, but I want to read this one part that I wrote down, that I actually wrote down because I am going to keep this because I need it to remind
Good.
myself. You wrote,
Good.
predators are not good people who are provoked into doing bad things. They are dangerous ones who do good things to disguise and protect themselves. And when I read that, I was like, I mean, it hits me like right in my breath,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
because I was like, that's right. So everybody wanted me to be convinced he was such a great guy that just did bad things,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
and then I have to like, I have to believe that. I got to like remind myself of that
Yeah.
because even with him gone, like people, my family doesn't want to hear about it, and your family,
Nope.
like nobody's family
Nope.
wants to hear about it. It's old news, and we need to move on, and nobody wants to hear about it.
So we can continue to live in the lie.
Right?
Right. Either we are making room for the truth, or we are making room for the lie.
Right. Why do you
Yeah.
think that? Why do you think? Because you're a doctor. You're a doctor in psychology. Why do families not want it? Is it so hard for them? Because I have a brother who will not deal with it at all, and you know,
It is really painful to. I mean, I'm sure in your own healing, at some point, have to come to terms with the fact that in order for me to heal any further, I have to rewrite a whole lot of scripts.
right.
And so it feels like you're starting over from scratch. And who wants to start over from scratch when you're 30, 40, 50 years old? And you're like, if I if I if I allow this belief to come into my life, I then have to question so many things.
Hmm.
And it's so painful. I mean, I felt like at some point, like day after day, on an almost daily basis, certainly on a weekly basis, you just then start like, oh, and that's why that happened. Oh, and that's why I did this. And oh, that's what that, like, it's this constant uncovering. Like, it's like that is it Jenga where you move one
Yes,
little
I was
block
just
and then
thinking of that.
everything,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like, yeah, it's like, ugh, if I move that peg, a whole lot of
100%.
stuff is gonna and it's just a lot of work. And why should I engage in that if I don't have to? If I can
Right.
continue having the perception, at least, of a good life and never deal with that, why would I? to support you, little old you. Come on now. You're 40 years old. You're 50 years old. You've been dealing with it. You're a grown person. Take care of yourself. Why would I disrupt
Yes.
my entire life to support you in that little old thing?
Right.
Right. And so we have to get the bigger picture that this isn't about even you or me. This is about how we're going to live in this society. What society are we creating when we allow these things to happen? Because it's not about you or me. And that's when I really got it. That's when I really decided and knew that I had to dedicate my entire life to this issue. Because if it were just me or just you, then maybe. But the reality is that there are 60 million of us and counting.
Wow.
And counting. 1 in 4 girls still, or 1 in 6 boys still, are going to have this issue. And it's never going to go away if this is the way that we're going to continue to approach it. It's never going to go away. And it's one of those problems in society that we can actually stop. We may not have, like, it doesn't have to, it's not cancer.
Right.
It's not a tornado. It's not. It's not about the global warming. Like, there are these, and even those things we can do some things about. But this is something that we can literally stop if we simply change our attitudes and how we look at it and approach it. We could almost clearly do a whole lot better than what we're doing with it right now. Yeah.
I was so envious of you in the book because you found some really good outlets that I wish I would
Yeah.
have had. I was like, why didn't I work out, and get all ripped and, I'm like, why didn't that happen for me? Like, I'm on the other end
Yeah.
where I'm like, well, I had 6 children. And so my weight was just going up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
And, whatever, but I was like, I don't feel like running. I'm like, why don't I feel like I should go run? Maybe I should go run. Maybe
Yeah.
I would. But I was so envious of like your outlets because you did and school, like while you were doing that, like I was a mom and
Yeah.
I had like, it was weird because in between my children, I actually felt voids that I don't know that was normal, whatever. I mean, because that love of a baby was so unconditional that
oh my God, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I was
absolutely.
addicted to that sensation.
Yes,
of a
totally
baby.
get it.
Yeah,
Totally get it. Yes.
and
but they grow up. I always wanted mine. It's funny. I always wanted mine to stay that little too. Like, I always just like, and I used to tell people, like, I would have 20 of these little things if they would just stop growing. If I could just keep them at one, where they're just so attached, and all they need is you, and all you need is them. And I totally get that. I felt that too. Totally. Yeah.
But then it seemed like now my adult children, I have adult children, and the pattern that I now see, I have 2 children that are going to watch this, so whatever, they can hear it. It doesn't matter. I find that because of I have ex-husbands and I know what happened. Like, I know I can look back and go, yeah, I will put up with abuse until I snap. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I find it repeating in my older children. Like, they'll kind of like, Mom, you got to do this, you got to do this, and I'll start taking those orders until I snap. It's a very weird thing. I can't
what's funny? Have you found Talking Trees on Facebook yet?
I just did.
Did you see today's post by chance?
No.
It's so funny that you say that. So today's post said something to the effect of, as survivors, we often become so good at surviving that becomes our pattern for living. Like, we become good at knowing that we're going to overcome this. But what happens is that we get into this pattern that we only learn from pain. Right? And so we keep this cycle of pain in our lives, and it's the only thing that motivates us to take care of ourselves. Wow. Right? So having this shift from being somebody who overcomes things to being someone who's actually committed to healing instead of overcoming.
Right. Overcoming. Right. I can make up a list of, 20 things I can overcome. I'm good at overcoming,
Exactly. We get really good at it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I learned from Eckhart Tolle, you mentioned just briefly before.
Yeah.
One of the most profound things that I learned from Eckhart Tolle is this idea. He once said, and I don't remember if it's in The Power of Now or if it's in just one of his lectures or something, but he said that human beings like need pain to learn, and something to the effect that evolving was the ability to learn without pain. I was like,
Mm.
yeah, that's what I want. Like, that's what I want. I
Right.
want to be able to learn without pain, because my go to was anger, not so much pain, because I get angry before the pain. So mine was,
Mm.
as soon as I got angry, I knew that I could change something, but I couldn't until I got that rage, that anger, like that indignation, right? Where it's like, you could have made that decision without getting to the point where you know.
Oh, I know. I find that, like I said, like I wish I could be more proactive, because if I didn't
Right.
accept abuse in the first place, then I don't
Exactly.
have to go through the breaking away from it and then having to make this
Right.
stand. Like, I always am in a position where we're like, why do I got to make a stand again? Why do I got to make a stand again? Because I got myself in a situation that I got to make a stand again. Like, I get myself, it's
Right.
like,
Yep.
I just be proactive. What do you want now?
Yep.
And what are you
Yep.
going to allow somebody to say to you right today?
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Who gets to control your life today? Who
Right.
do you give, or who will you give power away to
Right.
today?
Today. Right.
Because you're grown up, and I use that word a lot because I've had to use it a lot in my healing. Like, Rosenna, you're a grown up like now. Like, you're not, like, for real. Like, you're not.
Yep.
Okay, are you going to make that decision from a position of a 7-year-old who was a victim, or are you going to make a grown up decision today?
Right.
Like, you get to choose, but you must take full responsibility for how you choose.
Right. And then
You know?
sometimes I feel like, when, like we talked about in the beginning, like what's in our brain, it's like when I react to something, I'm like, is that a normal reaction or am I overreacting? Like, I get
Yeah.
very confused about, like, wait, what did they just say to me? Was that normal? Was
Yeah.
that normal what they just said to me? Or am I overreacting what they
Yeah.
just said? And that gets very confusing. And
It does.
it's part
Trial
of
and
the
error.
yeah, part
Trial
of the
and error.
after
Yes.
effects. Like I said, I get more upset about the after effects than anything. But I, like I said, this book was such a blessing to me. I mean, it just you
Good.
hit on everything, and I was so proud of you. So proud of you, like,
Thank you.
because you did things that I didn't do. I mean, you're a doctor. You went out and ran and worked out, and you did things that I didn't do. And then I was like, oh, I wish I would have, accomplished that. I wish I could have I did other things, but I thought
Yeah.
it was awesome the way you could channel. Like, you just, when you took on something, you just took it on.
Yeah. Thank you. That was when I started healing finally. Finally, and I couldn't find any resources. That was one of the things that even struck me when I started reading about the trauma that was happening in the lives of many survivors, unlike me. So I chose, academics instead of addiction. I didn't choose it, I guess. It
Right.
just happened that way. Um, and I chose anger and rage instead of victimization, right? And again, it's not. I don't feel like certainly it's not like, oh, I'm going to choose this.
Right.
It's just
how it
the way
comes
the
out.
way
Right.
things turned out. But when I got ready to heal and I couldn't find these resources, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that the percentage of addiction among survivors was that high. I had no idea.
Right.
I didn't know all the problems that survivors were having because many of them I had avoided, even though I still wanted to take my own life, even though I still didn't know how to handle a lot of situations, even though I was still allowing myself to be re-victimized mentally by being in those situations with family. So even though I feel like I was having all the internal pain, I was building up all these resources that I didn't know I was building up.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that other resources were not out there and that so many survivors were having a different experience than me, I just felt obligated to do something.
Yeah.
I just felt obligated that this is crazy that people are having this experience
Right.
because of something that some idiot did to them.
Right.
Like it just made no sense
Sense.
to
Right.
me. And so it's like, okay, well, Rosina, those resources are not there, and you have access to those resources. So what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Who's better at building those resources than you, right?
Yeah.
And so, so some things started to fall into place for me, But look, I mean, it took another 8 years for me to write about that, you know. So
I'm going to put the link to the Facebook page. I was going through it, I think yesterday, and I was loving it. I was like, what a great idea. But where did you get the fall? Is it falling leaves,
Talking Trees is the
talking
name of
trees?
the organization, and then the
Where
other
did you
book is
get that?
called Tree Leaves.
Tree
So
leaves.
yeah,
Okay, yeah. I didn't write it
yeah,
down, so I was like trying to go my
yeah,
memory, which is never good. But
yeah.
where did you get that concept? Because I love that.
It's funny when I started healing for real, and it's funny because the book stops at the point that I really make a commitment to heal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't talk about that
Right.
journey since then. But when I started healing, like I said, it was so much to put together, like the way that I had been living. That was like, that's crazy. Like, don't buy one more gift for a violator, like just like that, like simple thing, like it just. Like really, you've been doing that? Like you just to take this sort of bird's eye view all of a sudden and look at the
Yep.
craziness in which you live your life, right? Then of course my life seemed pretty normal, but it's like no, that's not normal. That's not normal.
I'm so happy
So,
you used the word normal because I've always used that normal. What's
yeah,
normal? What's
right,
normal?
right. It's certainly not healthy. And
All
so,
right.
but it was so difficult for me to come to grips with all that. And I was already writing poetry. And so I would just write around it. Like I could not write about the abuse. I could not write about it. And so I would write a lot of metaphors about it. And so I wrote this poem. One of the first poems I wrote was called Talking Trees. And it was a poem about how men go through the forest and they do what they want because it's this beautiful forest full of trees and they never really pay attention. And they climb the trees, burn fires, put out cigarettes, do whatever they want to in the forest, and don't even think twice about the damage that they cause. And
Yeah.
so, so it was a story about the things that the trees are saying or feeling versus the people who walk through the forest and don't pay attention to anything.
I
So,
love
so
that.
yeah, and so it was just one of the first metaphors that I wrote without having to say, "I'm a survivor and it hurts."
Like I said, people don't, it's like as soon as you, especially nowadays, it's like as soon as you see that, it's almost like people like pull back, like, oh, okay, all right, so you're a survivor, okay, like I don't
Right.
know, it's a natural
They don't know
reaction.
that.
People don't want to hear it. They don't want to, it's very, especially
Right.
family, but even friends. I don't
Yeah.
know, even friends, and they just, they don't know what to say. I think is the biggest
Right.
thing.
Right.
They don't know what to say.
Well, this idea that grown-ups can take care of themselves, I'm like, no, not really.
Right.
Like there's a foundation that you build on that interrupts a lot of things, and the reality is that okay, if you only knew, so you really want survivors who haven't healed teaching your children. You really want survivors who haven't healed making judgments in family court. You really want survivors you haven't healed stopping people on a highway to give them tickets. You really want, like, survivors are everywhere. We're involved. So survivors are influenced in every aspect of life. And you think it doesn't matter that we heal in order to create a better
Right.
society? Right?
My second husband that we just recently got divorced, but I had asked him to go away to a treatment center at the end of our marriage. My mom had died, and I was like, I really need to go. And he was like, no, it's too expensive. Very wealthy man, by the way. But he said it was too expensive, right?
Wow.
So whatever.
Wow.
We
To
ended
go
up,
to your mom's funeral.
yeah, right. So anyway, we
Wow.
ended up divorcing because I couldn't take it anymore. And we were in divorce court fighting over money. And he looked at me and he said, I think the treatment center would have been cheaper. And I was like, yeah, it was. It was so prophetic. I was like,
Yeah, right.
all those lawyer
Wow.
bills you're paying, right? Everything like.
Right. Wow.
But I think when we get to that
Wow.
point that I actually got to the point where I could say, I need help. I can't do this
Mhm. Mhm.
anymore, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that when we get there, we're not kidding. Like anybody
No,
who
we're not kidding because we don't get there until we get there. We come kicking and screaming. So,
right. But
so
because people had seen us being okay before, they don't get that we get
no.
to this place, you know? And then we're like, no, I can't get any further. I'm stuck, you know?
Like really stuck.
Like really stuck. Well, I am so happy, Rosenna. I mean, I want to know you, okay? Because like you've meant
Awesome.
so much in my life, and I just want to show everybody this book will be given away on Instagram the week that this video goes up, which is going to be going up very soon because the book just came out. And you know, what a blessing it was to me. I was scared. I was like, "Ooh, this could go bad," and then it was like I just kept reading and reading. I was like, "Oh my gosh, everything she's saying is just." And I know you're going to bless lots of other people with this book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I
I'm
will
really
see you
excited.
on Facebook because I will be on that community page.
Oh, good.
Definitely.
Great. Fantastic.
So I will have all of Rosenna's links listed underneath here. You can go right to Amazon and get this book now. And then go to, if you are a survivor, go to her Facebook page. It is awesome. I can't believe I never came across
it. And the
it.
website, too, has a lot of information. So
I will link that,
well.
too. Awesome. I will definitely link that. So I don't want to say goodbye. We'll just see each other on...
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Michelle, so much.
I know you were a blessing to me, so I thank you so much for writing it and putting your heart into it.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch.
Okay, great. Thank you. Have a great day, Rosenna.
Thank you as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everyone, thank you for watching us. I mean, I was nervous, okay, because it's always hard for me to talk about, and she made it so easy because this book made it easy to talk about, and I don't have to be ashamed. I mean, that's what I got from her book is like the shame. It's like whenever I'm going to talk about it, I always think nobody wants to hear about it. This is depressing. This is stupid. Don't talk about it. And reading her book, I realized like I have a voice. Everybody, whether you experience it or not, you will gain a lot of hope from this book. And I can't wait to read anything else she has to write. And I will have all of her links listed underneath here. Thank you, Rosenna, and thank you, everyone.